The envelope hit the marble floor before the doorman could catch it. Everyone in the lobby of the Ashford, one of Manhattan's most expensive residential towers, saw it fall. The thin yellow envelope, the kind that suggested nothing important, the kind that screamed ordinary, tumbled from the hand of a man who looked like he had no business being inside a building like this at all. His jacket was clean but too plain. His shoes were polished but not branded. He bent down calmly and picked it up, and when he straightened, his face showed nothing. Not embarrassment, not apology, just patience. His name was Ethan Cole, and no one in that lobby knew a single true thing about him. "Sir," the front desk manager, a thin man named Gerald with a badge that said senior concierge, stepped forward with the particular walk of someone who had practiced authority. "Are you a guest of a resident?" Ethan looked at him. "I live here." Gerald blinked. A woman in a fur coat near the elevator shifted her weight. Two men in tailored suits exchanged a glance. The silence that followed was not empty. It was full of judgment, running fast and quiet the way expensive people allowed themselves to judge. "I don't see your fob," Gerald said. Ethan reached into his jacket pocket and produced a small black keycard. He pressed it to the panel beside the elevator. The light turned green immediately. He stepped inside. The doors closed. No one spoke, but everyone looked at each other with the same thought pressing behind their eyes. How does a man who looks like that live on the 47th floor? The 47th floor had 3 units. Ethan lived in the smallest one, Unit C, which he had rented 6 months ago in cash through a property management company that asked no questions because the payment required none. The unit was large by normal standards and invisible by the standards of this building. He had furnished it with almost nothing: a bed, a desk, a chair by the window that looked out over the East River, where he sometimes sat for hours doing nothing that looked productive and everything that mattered. He placed the envelope on the desk without opening it. He poured water from a glass pitcher, no brand, no label, and stood at the window. 40 floors below, the city moved the way it always moved, without stopping for anyone. Ethan Cole had exactly $100,000 in the Chase account linked to his lease. He had 2 suits. He owned a single watch, silver, no logo, bought 15 years ago from a craftsman in Geneva who had not heard of him. He took the subway. He ate at a diner on Lexington called Patty's, where the coffee cost $2, and the owner, a woman named Rosa, always kept his corner table open without being asked. He had been living this way for 7 months. Not because he had to, because he wanted to see something. He had met Claire Bennett at Patty's, which was the only reason he trusted the meeting. She had been sitting across from his corner table, with a folder of papers spread in front of her, and a pen tucked behind her ear, and she had knocked her coffee off the table, reaching for a page that slid away from her. He had caught the cup before it fell. She had stared at him. "Thank you," she said, genuinely surprised, not performing gratitude the way people did when they expected someone to be watching, just surprised and honest. He handed the cup back. She looked at the papers. He looked at the window. "Are you waiting for someone?" she asked. "No." "Then why are you sitting at a table for 2? He looked at her. She did not look away. "Rosa keeps it for me," he said. She nodded like that made sense, though it probably didn't. She went back to her papers. He went back to the window. They did not speak again for 20 minutes, and then she said, without looking up, "You've been staring at the rain for a long time." "It's a good rain," he said. She looked up then, and she smiled, not politely, not for show. She smiled the way people smiled when something surprised them into it. Her name was Claire. She was 28. She managed grant applications for a nonprofit that helped underfunded public schools get art programs. She made $43,000 a year and spent most of it on rent for an apartment in Astoria that her roommate had recently abandoned, leaving Claire to cover the full $1,200 a month alone. She had told him this, not because she wanted sympathy, but because he had asked how her day was going, and she believed in answering honestly. He had not told her anything about himself, except that his name was Ethan and that he lived nearby. She had not asked for more. That was the first thing that made him feel something he had not felt in a long time. They had been meeting at Patty's for 11 weeks when Marcus arrived. Marcus Webb had been Ethan's closest friend for 12 years, or had presented himself that way. He was the kind of man New York produced in high volume. Good-looking, gym-sharp, loudly successful, with a rotating wardrobe of people he called family until they stopped being useful. He wore his net worth on his collar in the literal sense, a custom monogram on every shirt, and he had a talent for reading rooms that he used entirely in service of himself. He found Ethan at Patty's on a Tuesday afternoon, walked in like the diner owed him something, and sat down across from him without being invited. "You're really doing this," Marcus said, looking around at the laminate tables and the handwritten specials board, and Rosa at the counter, who was already watching him with the comfortable suspicion of a woman who had seen his type before. "Living like a monk in Manhattan, this is genuinely strange, man." "Good strange or bad strange?" Ethan asked. "Embarrassing strange." Marcus picked up the laminated menu and put it back down immediately. "Do you understand how it looks? Do you know who saw you on the subway last week?" "Derek Salter," Derek called me. "He wanted to know if you were okay. I had to make something up." "What did you say?" "I said you were recovering from something." Marcus leaned forward. His voice dropped the way voices did when they were performing concern, but actually delivering control. "This experiment, or whatever you want to call it, it's making you look like a problem, Ethan. People are noticing. The wrong people." Ethan looked at him steadily. "Which people?" "Our people." Marcus spread his hands. "The ones who matter." Ethan said nothing. He picked up his coffee. Marcus sat back. His jaw shifted. "There's also a girl. Someone told me you've been seen with. Who is she? Some teacher?" "She manages grants for a nonprofit." Marcus stared at him. "You're joking." "No, Ethan." The name came out slow and careful, the way you looked to someone you decided to manage rather than respect. You cannot be serious about a woman like that. In your position? Think about what you're doing. Think about how this looks when it comes out. And it will come out. Everything always comes out. Ethan set his cup down. He looked at Marcus with an expression that gave nothing away. Not anger, not agreement, not hurt. Just a calm, flat attention that should have warned Marcus, but didn't, because Marcus had decided long ago that Ethan needed his guidance and had never updated that belief. "I should get back," Ethan said. "To what? The monastery?" Marcus gestured at the diner. "Come on, come back. The Meridian launch is next month. Hargrove is asking for you." Chen flew in from Singapore. "These are real things, Ethan. These are the things that are real." Ethan stood. He put a folded bill on the table. He looked at Marcus one more time. "Thank you for coming," he said, and he left. Marcus did not leave quietly. In the 3 weeks that followed, Claire began to hear things. Not directly, not at first. It came in sideways, the way these things always did. A woman she didn't know followed her on Instagram and left a comment on a photo of her desk at work. "Cute. Does he know what you make?" A text from a number she didn't recognize. "He's playing a game. You're not the point. You're the prop." Then, at a gallery opening Claire attended with a colleague, an event she had won free tickets to through her nonprofit, she found herself standing beside a man who introduced himself as Derek Salter, and who spent 4 minutes under the cover of being charming, saying everything designed to make her feel small. "Ethan's great. Derek said, smiling like he was complimenting her. Very experimental phase right now. You know how it is with guys who come from money. Sometimes they go through a thing. You seem sweet, genuinely. He touched his champagne glass to hers without asking. Just be careful with your heart, okay? He gets bored. She smiled. She moved away. She did not tell Ethan. But that night at Patty's, she was quieter than usual. She held her coffee with both hands and looked out the window at the same rain he had been watching the first time she smiled at him. And he watched her instead of the window and waited. Someone told me you're going through a phase, she said finally. Who? A man named Derek at a gallery. He said you come from money. She paused. He said I should be careful. Ethan was still. Is that true? She asked. Not accusatory. Not afraid. Just honest, the way she always was. Direct and a little bruised and asking because she actually wanted to know. Not the money part. I don't care about that. I mean, is there something you're not telling me? Because I'd rather know now, before it matters more. The last 3 words landed gently and devastatingly. Before it matters more, which meant it already did. Ethan looked at her. The word yes sat in his chest, large and complicated and true. He had planned to tell her. He had been building toward it the way you built toward something you both wanted and feared. Because wanting something real after a long time of having everything fake was its own kind of terror. But before he could answer, his phone vibrated on the table. He looked at the screen. His assistant's name, his real assistant. The one who did not know about Patty's or Claire or the 47th floor. The one who existed in an entirely different dimension of his actual life. The message read, Sir, it's started. They're moving on the Voss acquisition without authorization. If you don't respond in the next 6 hours, we lose the block. All of it. Ethan read it once, then again. Then he put the phone face down on the table. Claire was watching him. She had seen his face change, not dramatically, not the way faces changed in movies. Quietly, the way a city looked right before a storm arrived, when the light went strange and everything went still. Ethan, she said. I need to make a call, he said. I'm sorry. I need just 1 minute. He stood. He walked to the back of the diner, past Rosa's counter, to the narrow hall near the kitchen where the old payphone used to be, and where it was quiet enough to think. He stood there for a moment with the phone in his hand. Then he made the call. If this story has already reached somewhere inside you, if you've ever been judged by how you looked instead of who you were, please like this video, subscribe to Velvet Vow Stories, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another story like this one. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from tonight? I read every single one. What happened on that call would not be known to Claire. Not that night. Not for another 17 days. But the call lasted 4 minutes and 20 seconds, and when Ethan walked back to the table, he sat down and looked at her and said quietly and without drama, There is something I haven't told you. She waited. But I need you to know, before I tell you, that every single thing that has happened between us has been real. What I feel, what I've said, none of it was performance. She looked at him steadily. Her hands had gone still around her coffee cup. Okay, she said. Just that. Okay. He opened his mouth, and outside on Lexington, a black car pulled up to the curb in front of Patty's diner. Then another, and then, in a line that stretched the full length of the block and turned the corner and kept going, 100 black luxury vehicles came to a silent, synchronized stop. Engines off, doors closed. Not one of them honking, not one of them announcing itself. And the drivers sat motionless, waiting, as the people on the sidewalks slowed and stopped and turned and stared. And Rosa behind the counter pressed her hand to the glass. And the couple at table 4 stood up without thinking. And the whole diner went quiet, in the way that things went quiet when something was happening that no one had words for yet. Claire turned toward the window. Her face changed, and Ethan, watching her, said nothing. Claire's breath fogged the cold glass as she leaned toward the window. The cars did not move. They simply existed, long, black, immaculate, stretching down Lexington Avenue like a sentence that had not finished being written yet. People on the sidewalk had stopped walking entirely. A woman with grocery bags set them down without realizing she had done it. A teenager raised his phone. Then another. Then the whole block was recording something it could not name. Rosa came from behind the counter slowly, wiping her hands on her apron, and stood beside Claire's table, looking out. "Ethan," she said, not turning around. "Those yours?" He did not answer. Claire turned back from the window. She looked at him the way you looked at someone when a word you thought you understood had just revealed a second meaning. Not betrayed, not angry, not even fully surprised. Just recalibrating. Quietly and carefully recalibrating. "How many?" she said. Not a question, a measurement. 100. She exhaled. It was not quite a laugh. It was the sound of something large landing. 100, she repeated, and looked back at the window, and then at her coffee cup, which was ordinary and chipped at the rim, and suddenly the most honest thing in the room. "Claire, give me a second." Her voice was steady. That was the thing about her that had always undone him. She did not perform emotion. She felt it, visibly, fully, without theater. Her fingers curled once around the cup. Then she looked at him directly. "Tell me," he told her. "Not everything. Not in 4 minutes at a diner table with 100 cars idling outside. But enough. The name of the company. The number of countries it operated in. The figure that appeared when his accountants sent quarterly reports. A figure so large it had stopped feeling like money years ago and had become something closer to architecture, a structure the world was partially built on without knowing who had built it." He told her about the 7 months, the decision to remove himself temporarily from the life that had calcified around him. The dinners where everyone wanted something, the friendships maintained through mutual transaction, the women who arrived already knowing his net worth and behaving accordingly. He told her he had needed to know if anything real was still possible, if he could still be surprised, if someone could choose him before they knew what choosing him meant. She listened without interrupting. That was the second thing that undone him. When he finished, the table was quiet. Outside, a news van had appeared at the end of the block. Phones were still raised on the sidewalk. "The envelope," Claire said. "At the Ashford, the morning I saw you in the lobby." He blinked. He had not known she had seen that. "Yes, you looked so calm." She paused. "Gerald was awful to you. Gerald is always awful. He's also about to receive a very confusing promotion he didn't apply for." Something moved across her face. Almost a smile. Then it faded. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because the moment I did, you would stop seeing Ethan and start seeing the rest of it." "That's not fair," she said quietly. "You took the choice away from me." "I know." Silence. Not hostile, just real and weighted and honest in the way that only silences between two people who actually cared could be. "I would have chosen you anyway," she said finally. "I want you to know that. I'm not saying it to make you feel better. I'm saying it because I think you built this whole experiment because somewhere you stopped believing that was possible. And it makes me a little sad that you needed 100 cars as evidence." He looked at her for a long moment. "I didn't send for the cars," he said. She frowned. "Then who did?" His phone lit up on the table. A name, Marcus Webb. Marcus had found out 3 days ago. He had not found out from Ethan. He had found out from Derek, who had found out from a junior analyst at a firm that had been quietly tracking the Voss acquisition, a deal so large that when the authorization finally moved, it moved with Ethan's signature, and Ethan's signature was attached to a name, and that name had not been spoken in certain rooms for 7 months. And when it reappeared, people noticed. Marcus had spent those 3 days calculating. He understood, now, what the 7 months had been. He understood what Claire was. He understood that he had spent 11 weeks mocking a man who was watching him, and he had failed every single test. Marcus Webb did not process shame quietly. He processed it as attack. He had called the building management of the Ashford and confirmed Ethan's residency, using a contact, a favor owed, and then he had done something that felt, to him, like power and was actually its opposite. He had called a friend at a gossip column. He had provided the address of the diner. He had described Claire in enough detail to be identified. And he had framed the story, not as Ethan's experiment, not as something private and deliberate, but as Ethan's slumming, as a billionaire's joke at a poor woman's expense, as something to be laughed at. The cars had not been his idea. The cars had been Ethan's assistant, acting on a separate emergency entirely. The Voss block requiring Ethan's physical presence at a midtown address. The convoy standard protocol for that level of movement. But Marcus had seen the convoy assembling from his apartment window 4 blocks away, and he had understood immediately that the joke had collapsed. That the column piece would run in 3 hours. That Claire would read it before Ethan could reach her. So he had done one more thing. He had called Claire directly. Her phone rang as Ethan was still speaking. She looked at the screen. An unknown number. She almost ignored it. But something, the specific timing, the way Ethan's expression shifted almost imperceptibly when he saw her look at it, made her answer. Claire Bennett? A man's voice, smooth and practiced. This is Marcus Webb. I'm a close friend of Ethan's. I'm calling because I think you deserve to know the truth before you read it somewhere else. She said nothing. She kept her eyes on Ethan. He chose you as an experiment, Marcus said. The words came fast and confident, shaped like concern. That's the actual story. The diner, the subway, the ordinary life. It's a game he plays. He's done it before. The girl before you lasted 4 months. He documented it. He has a name for it internally. His team calls it a reset. You're a reset, Claire. I'm sorry. I genuinely am. But you should know. The diner was still quiet around them. Rosa had gone back behind the counter, but had not stopped watching. Claire held the phone against her ear without speaking for a moment. Then she said, calmly, "What's the name of the girl before me?" A pause. "What? You said he's done this before. You said she lasted 4 months. What's her name?" Silence. "You said his team has a name for it. What's the team called?" Longer silence. "You said you're a close friend," Claire said. Her voice had not risen. It had dropped, actually, quieter and more precise. "Close friends know details. You don't have any. You have a story you built out of fear." She paused. "I'm going to hang up now." She ended the call. She set the phone face down on the table. She looked at Ethan. "Marcus?" she said. "Yes. He's scared of you. He's scared of what he showed me," Ethan said. "There's a difference." She nodded slowly. Outside, a second news van had parked behind the first. The sidewalk crowd had doubled. Someone was live streaming. The convoy sat unmoved, patient as fact. The story ran anyway. The column piece published at 7:14 p.m. under the headline, "Billionaire's Secret Life, Manhattan's Most Eligible Recluse Hid Fortune in Lower Manhattan Diner." And the woman who didn't know. It had Claire's name. It had a photograph taken through the diner window, grainy and angled, of the two of them at the corner table. It described the 7 months. It framed everything as performance, as condescension, as a rich man's amusement at ordinary life. By 8 p.m., it had 400,000 views. By 9 p.m., Claire's nonprofit had received 11,000 new donation notifications. Not because anyone had asked. Because people had read the article and looked up where she worked and decided, independently and without coordination, that if a woman had sat across from extraordinary wealth for 11 weeks and treated it like a person, she probably deserved their $12 a month. Claire did not see any of this immediately. She was not at home refreshing screens. She was standing in the hallway of the Ashford on the 47th floor, outside Unit C, which was smaller than any unit in the building and contained almost nothing. And she was looking at the space while Ethan stood beside her without explaining or justifying or filling the silence with noise. "It's very empty," she said. "I know. You really did live like this." Yes, she walked to the window. The East River was dark and moving. The city pressed itself against the glass from every direction, bright and indifferent and enormous. "I believe you," she said. Not to him exactly. More to the window. Then she turned. "I want you to know that. I believe the 7 months were real. I believe you meant it." She paused. "But I'm going to need time to understand what I'm walking into. Because it's not just you anymore. She gestured toward the window, toward the city, toward everything the window represented, all of that." "I know," he said. "I'm not running," she said clearly. "I'm just asking you to be patient." He looked at her, this woman who had knocked coffee off a table and answered honestly, and sat across from him for 11 weeks without asking for anything. "And," he said, "I've been patient for 7 months. I can be patient longer." Marcus Webb made 3 more moves in the following week. He called 2 board members of Ethan's holding company and suggested, using the careful language of someone who believed he was untouchable, that Ethan's judgment had become questionable, that the 7-month disappearance, the diner, the woman, indicated instability. He sent a message to Derek, instructing him to make himself available to the column's journalist for a follow-up piece. He arranged a lunch with a lawyer he trusted and asked, in careful terms, whether there was any mechanism by which a partner's erratic behavior could trigger a review of standing agreements. Every one of these moves was recorded. Not illegally. Ethan's legal team had been monitoring the company's communication channels for 3 months at Ethan's direction, watching specifically for the kind of quiet maneuvering that preceded betrayal. They had found it twice in 6 months. This was the 3rd time. On the 8th day after the convoy, Ethan called a meeting. Not a board meeting. Not a legal proceeding. Just a breakfast at a hotel in Midtown that Marcus had suggested himself 3 weeks ago before the convoy, when Marcus still believed he was managing a situation. Marcus arrived 4 minutes early. He was dressed precisely. He had the posture of a man who believed he was about to negotiate from strength. He walked into the private dining room. Ethan was already seated. Beside him sat a woman Marcus did not recognize. Elena Voss, the largest independent shareholder of the Voss acquisition target, whose company Marcus had tried to move against. Across from Elena sat Ethan's legal lead, and beside her, Gerald from the Ashford front desk, who was there for a different reason entirely, and whose presence Marcus found immediately confusing. Marcus sat down. He reached for the water glass. His hand was steady. He was good at steady. "Marcus," Ethan said. "Ethan," he smiled. "Interesting guest list. Gerald is here because last week he received a very unusual call," Ethan said. "Someone contacted building management posing as a resident's legal representative to confirm my unit number and lease terms." Gerald flagged it. "The call came from a number registered to a communications firm you hired 8 months ago." Ethan paused. "Before I removed myself from day-to-day operations, you had access to my schedule. You knew the experiment had started, and you spent 7 months waiting to see how to use it." Marcus said nothing. "The column piece," Ethan continued, "was your attempt to damage Claire's trust before she could hear the truth from me. The board calls were your attempt to create a case for removing my authority during what you plan to present as a personal crisis. His voice was calm, entirely, devastatingly calm. You didn't betray me when I disappeared. You revealed who you were before I disappeared. This was just when I finished watching. The room was silent. Elena Voss set her coffee cup down with a soft sound that filled the space. Marcus opened his mouth, then closed it. Something moved through his face. Not guilt exactly, but the specific collapse of a man who had built his identity around reading rooms and had finally catastrophically misread one. The Meridian stake, Ethan said, the Singapore partnership, the Hargrove account, the shared access to the coal group infrastructure, all of it ends today. The legal documents are already signed. He folded his hands on the table. You wanted to know what it looked like when the experiment ended. This is what it looks like. Marcus looked around the table. No one looked back with anything he could use. You can't, he started. Gerald, Ethan said, without looking away from Marcus. Can you show Mr. Webb out? Gerald stood. He had the particular posture of a man who had been given a second chance and understood exactly what it meant. He gestured toward the door with genuine professionalism. Marcus Webb stood. He straightened his jacket. He walked to the door. And just before he crossed the threshold, just before he left the room that had been built for him to lose in, he turned and looked at Ethan with an expression that was trying to be contempt and was actually grief, because underneath everything Marcus had done, there had been something that might once have been real friendship, and he had spent it. The door closed behind him. The room held its silence for 3 full seconds. Then Elena Voss picked up her coffee again and said, I like how you run a breakfast. Claire was at Patty's the following Tuesday. She was alone when Ethan arrived. She had her folder open, pages spread, pen behind her ear. The coffee was already on the table. Rosa had placed it there before he walked in, knowing the way Rosa knew everything that happened in the 40 feet around her counter. He sat down across from her. She looked up. The nonprofit received enough in donations last week to fund 3 new school programs, she said. I don't know how to process that. You don't have to process it immediately. People donated because of an article that was supposed to humiliate me. People donated because of you, he said. The article just introduced you. She looked at him. Then she looked at the window. The rain again, the same kind of rain, gray and honest, running down the glass without asking permission. I've been thinking, she said, about what you said, about needing to know if anything real was still possible. She paused. I think the saddest thing isn't that you doubted it. It's that you had to test it alone, that there was no one you could just ask. It was quiet for a moment. There wasn't anyone I trusted enough. I know. She turned back from the window. I want to be someone you trust enough. Not because of the cars or the building or any of it. Because of this. She gestured at the table, the coffee cups, the laminate surface, the ordinary, unimpressive, entirely real space between them. This is where I actually met you. Something in his chest that had been braced for a very long time released without announcement. He reached across the table. She looked at his hand. Then she placed hers in it. Rosa, behind the counter, looked away and refilled someone's coffee with the quiet satisfaction of a woman who had watched a lot of things unfold in her diner and knew the difference between performance and the real article. Outside on Lexington, the city moved the way it always moved, without stopping, without caring. Without knowing that at a corner table, in a diner, with chipped cups and a handwritten specials board, 2 people had found something the city spent most of its energy telling everyone was naive to want. Marcus Webb's name disappeared from the coal group's records on a Friday afternoon, with no announcement and no farewell. Derek Salter called 3 times and received no reply. The column journalist ran a follow-up piece that turned, somehow, into a story about Claire's nonprofit and what 11,000 strangers had done with their $12. Gerald at the Ashford front desk received his promotion and a quiet personal note that he kept in his desk drawer for years. Not because of what it represented, but because of what it said in its last line. You flagged something most people would have ignored. That's the thing that actually matters. And Ethan Cole, trillionaire, sat in Patty's diner on a Tuesday morning with $100 in his wallet, and a woman across from him who had chosen him in a season when choosing him looked like nothing at all. And he thought about what she had said, about testing it alone, about trust. And he understood that the experiment had not proved what he thought it would prove. He had thought it would prove whether the world could still offer something real. What it had actually proved was that he had been the last one to believe it could. She had believed it all along. Some people only recognize value after the crowd starts clapping. But the cruelest truth is this: the crowd was never the point. The crowd is just noise that arrives late to something that was already real. If you believe dignity, family, and justice still matter, subscribe to Velvet Vow Stories. We tell stories about people the world underestimated, until the truth finally spoke.